Hello, what I'm going to be doing in this video is first covering an example of inheritance and then cover how you convert that inheritance example into compositions. So what we have here is we have an employee class. It has three instance variables for the name, department, employee ID. We have the constructor. We have a get name method, we have a get department method, we have a set department method, we have a get employee ID method. So we do not have a set name method or a set employee ID method. So basically those are read-only properties, and the only way you can set those is when you go ahead and actually create the object. Next we have an hourly employee. So basically what that hourly employee inherits from the employee, and then the additional instance variables are hours worked and hourly rate. So in the constructor, basically we're passing in 5 instance variables, and then the first thing we need to do is we need to call our super so we can create our employee piece, and then the hours worked and set our hourly rate. And we have getters, getter for hours worked, a set for hours worked, a get for hourly rate, and a set for hourly rate. And then what we're doing is we're actually getting the wages. So in this method, what we're doing is we're just taking the hours worked times the hourly rate and returning the hourly employee's wages. And then we also have a salaried employee. So again, it inherits from the employee class. Its instance variable is salary. So again, in our constructor, we must call our super to go ahead and pass in the employee information, the name, department, and ID. And then we go ahead, set our salary equal to our initial salary, and then we have a get and set salary methods. So in our tester, what we're doing in our tester is we're creating an hourly employee by passing in all the arguments required in the constructor, and then after that we're updating the department and updating the hourly rate. And then we're creating a salary employee. We're using the get methods like we did above to display the salary employee. And then we're updating the salary employee by updating their department and their salary. So what we have here is the first employee is Peter Johnson. He's custodial department, employee ID 1234. Number of hours worked is 140, hourly rate is 10. So what we're doing down below, we're calling the get wages a method that will calculate his wages. And then he gets transferred to the landscaping department, and his hourly rate goes up to $15 an hour. So what we're doing is we're displaying the information after he's been updated. And we're doing the same thing for Maya Romero. She works in finance. Her ID is 4567. Her salary is $60,000. We're using the get methods to display the information, and then we're updating her department and her salary. So if I go ahead and compile and run my tester program, we have Peter Johnson, first custodial, $1,400 for wages, which is 10 times 140 hours. His wages go up to $15 per hour when he gets transferred to landscaping, so that's $2,100. And then Maya Romero, she goes from finance to the accounting department, and her wages salary goes from $60,000 to $70,000. So that is our inheritance. So now what we want to do is we want to change this to composition. So let me just go into my composition folder and close these 4 files down. So in order to change this to composition, both our hourly employee and our salary employee would have or has a employee in it. So what I need is I need to go to my hourly employee class, and it no longer extends the employee class. It's actually going to instantiate an employee within this class. So what I need to do is I need to delete that. And then what I need to do is I need to add an instance variable, and that instance variable will be my employee object. So let me just go ahead and add that. And then after I've added that, then we need to update our constructor. We no longer call super because we are actually not inheriting from employee, but what we're doing is we need to create a new employee object. So what I need to do is I need to specify employee, and it will equal, and it will be a new employee. So what we're doing here is we're actually creating a new employee object within our hourly employee constructor, since employee is one of our instance variables up above. The other thing we need to do is we need to create implementations of the methods that are in our employee class so we can access those items in the employee class, the instance variables. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and copy over my get and set methods, and then we're going to go ahead and update those. So in my hourly employee, I will just go ahead and add those in first. And the first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and get the name. So what we need to do is we need to call the get method on our employee. So we just specify employee.getName, and what that will do is that will return the name of the employee object that we created up above. So that'll get our name. The next thing we need to do is get apartment, so we need to do the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call that on our employee object that we created in our constructor. And then we have the ability to set the department or update the department. So what we need to do here is we need to call the set method, our set department methods, on our employee object that is part of our hourly employee. So it'll just be employee set department, and what we're going to pass in then is the new department. And then get employee ID, we just need to go ahead and call the get employee ID method on our employee class. That's part of our hourly employee. So let me just go ahead and call that method, and then get hours worked and set hours work. Those were hourly employee methods, so we do not have to do any updating of those methods. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and compile the class. It looks like it compiled successfully, so we need to go ahead and make the same updates to our salaried employees. So let me just go into that class. It's not going to extend our employee anymore. We're going to actually have an employee in our salaried employee class. So what I can do is I can just do some copy and pasting from my hourly employee class, because we're going to update it the same way. So we're going to have an instance variable for our employee that's part of our salaried employee class. Then we do not call super. What we're going to do is from our hourly employee, we're just going to create that new employee object. So I will just go ahead and copy that information over to my salaried employee class. And then the last thing I need to do is I need to copy and paste the get and set methods so we can access our employee instance variables. So again, I need to go to my hourly employee class. We've already implemented those in that class, so I will just go ahead and copy those down. to my salaried employee. And now we have the get name, get department, set department, and again what we're doing is we're calling the get name, get department, set department, and get employee ID on the employee object that we created in our salaried employee constructor. So let me just go ahead and compile that class. So now we should not have to make any changes to our tester program. So let me just go ahead and open that tester program and click on compile. It compiled fine. And now I'll go ahead and run that. And it looks like it has created the salaried employee and the hourly employee like it did in the inheritance. And it updated the department and the wages for this hourly employee and updated the department and the salary for the salaried employee. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video. So what we went over is how we could go ahead and convert an inheritance example into a composition example. So inheritance, basically, both our hourly employee and our salary employed is an employee, whereas in our composition example, both our hourly employee and our salary employee has an employee. And the way we do that is we have an instance variable of the class that we want to include in our hourly employee on line number 3. And then we create the instance of it in our constructor on line number 10. And then we implement the get and set methods that were contained in our employee class so we can go ahead and access the information for the employee objects. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video. So we will talk to you later.